Hello and welcome to this panel session brought to you by ScreenSkills and Broadcast. I'm Chris Curtis, Editor-in-Chief of Broadcast, and today we'll be discussing leadership. Better leadership is a challenge for everyone in the industry, and there's also a need to increase diversity in leadership roles. So how can we make this happen? We're going to be discussing ScreenSkills Leadership of Tomorrow program, which is a 3-year program aimed at mid-level freelancers moving towards leadership roles. And we'll also talk about the broader push to create effective career pathways to the top. So let's introduce our panel that we're going to hear from today. Hannah Green is the Senior High-End TV Programs Manager for ScreenSkills, which means that she leads on delivering Leaders of Tomorrow. She also leads on the organization's professional skills courses for productions, including, appropriately enough, leadership and management, anti-bullying and harassment, and mental health awareness. And it says here, Hannah, that you're based in the southwest of England, but that seems a bit vague. So tell us where you're based in the southwest.
I'm based in Somerset, so just south of Bristol. That's
a very nice part of the world to be in. Okay, so next up, we have 2 of the current Leaders of Tomorrow cohort. So that's George Thompson and Monica Chaudhary Kashinsky. George is a London-based sound assistant with an initial background in audio post-production, and he has a clear vision of working towards the role of production sound mixer through honing his technical artistry and developing his leadership skills. It says here, so no pressure, George. You got to do both those things. And Monica is a production side VFX production manager who already has some very punchy credits to her name. She's worked on Amazon's Anansi Boys, Lucasfilm's Solo: A Star Wars Story, and HBO sci-fi comedy Avenue 5. Lots of sci-fi, Monica. Is that your speciality?
It just seems to happen with VFX, doesn't it?
Very good.
Sorry, it's gone very dark here. I'll get
There was a sci-fi moment, in fact.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Apologies in advance. I am in a studio, so changes can occur.
No worries. We'll keep going. And finally, Amanda Wilkie Sweeney is head of production for drama at Sky Studios. She joined Sky in 2015 as production executive, took over the reins as head of production for drama in 2017, and she oversees the rather epic planning and delivery of drama content on Sky Max and Sky Atlantic. And she's also a committed member of the ScreenSkills HETV Council, which of course leads on delivering funding for training and skills development. So that's the panel. We're going to talk through some broad topics, talk through some personal experiences, and see what we can contribute to the debate about finding and developing the next generation of leaders. Hannah, let's start with you. Why did ScreenSkills launch this program a year ago? What was the root cause of the decision to introduce a new scheme?
Yeah, so basically the HETV fund is led by industry and funded by industry. So we obviously have a council full of all the main broadcasters and streamers like BBC, Sky and Netflix. And then we have about 10 working groups that govern how that money is spent. So all our funding is industry led, and through research clearly has shown that there is a senior lack of diversity in those senior leadership roles. So hence this program was born and piloted, Leaders of Tomorrow, in 2021. So that's fundamentally what it is.
Yeah,
and how it came about.
And it's a leadership program where diversity is a incredibly important, crucial part of it, but it's not purely a diversity program, right? This is about pathways across the board in terms of maybe trying to help smooth what can sometimes be a rather bumpy path to the top of a particular department.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the program is a 3-year program, and we wanted it to be in that 3-year program because it takes a long time to not only get to that senior level role, but obviously you need support in that stepping up. So but as part of this program, you get a mentor for 3 years, you get up to 3 funded placements a year on a production, you get access to a professional pool of networks for one-to-one advice, you get group training sessions, and you get bespoke funding for your own equipment and training. So that's kind of the structure of it. On top of that, or kind of as part of that, because every single person, we've got 19 people across the program who are all from different backgrounds, all have different departments, who all have very different challenges, and they're across the whole of the UK. So we're creating a really kind of bespoke training journey with all their different challenges to support each one of them, so that it's a very, very tailored program of support over those 3 years. And as to what you're saying, it's not just about getting people into an HOD role or getting into a senior leader role. It's doing that really, really responsibly. So we're creating some sensible leaders of tomorrow. So they're given all those other skills of understanding about what it means to hire inclusively, what it means to deal with difficult conversations and difficult situations on your team, how to deal with bullying and harassment on your team, and how to build that resilience in yourself and in your team. So yes, it's kind of two parts. It's about how to become an HOD and how to become a senior leader, but it's how to become a good leader. It's how to have all those skills about having that responsibility to your team about their mental health and about, that's fundamentally it.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. That makes complete sense. We want to move people on and we want to equip them as they're being moved on, right? And we'll talk more about that later on. So Hannah's told us all about the program. Let's hear from George and Monica, who are in the midst of that program. I'm going to start with you, Monica, if that's okay. How's it been? What's your experience been? What have you, what I guess what prompted you to apply in the first place? And what's your experience been during that initial period of the program?
Well, in terms of what prompted me to apply, a couple of people, HODs who I'd worked with previously, told me about the scheme and told me that they thought I'd be a good fit for it. And you have to be nominated in order to become a leader of tomorrow. And so, and when I heard about it, I was like, of course, funding, training, support, that all sounds wonderful to me. So I applied, and it was kind of wonderful, really, because it was at a point where I was stepping up anyway. I was already having talks with a specific show, but what it did was it effectively created a contract between the show and myself of saying, not only am I going to do these things and I'm going to step up, but it behooves you to make sure I am supported as I'm stepping up, that, there's not just some, ridiculous expectations that I'm going to do this role, never having done it before, and somehow just know everything. And I think that was really important and really key in making sure that I could actually get what I wanted to out of that role and set goals for myself. It's been brilliant. And alongside that, there's been just so much training. There's been bespoke sessions, professional coaching, which has been invaluable. And it's been fundamentally fun, as well as quite a valuable experience.
Good. So you've got things out of the scheme from both professionally in terms of the role that you're currently doing and working on that particular show, and then beyond that as well, right? In terms of which that, and I guess sometimes I suspect that under normal circumstances, it's very easy to have tunnel vision with regards to your current project, right? That you're just consumed by and focused on, and this gives you a little bit more of a breadth of things to consider.
Yeah, it gave me a lot of perspective. It made me look at my role in a slightly different way. I sort of took a lot more responsibility over not just what I was doing, but how I impact the wider industry. So I was working on a show that was a virtual production show. VP is very new. There are skill gaps. And the way we approached that show was relatively unique in that we decided to build the team in-house, build the workflows. So knowing that I was getting all this knowledge whilst being in LOT made me feel like I need to spread this knowledge. So right now I'm helping produce courses. I've just finished DevZone on a course with SFA. I'm helping them produce a project. And yeah, things are just really coming together, and I'm sort of now able to give back as well as take. Brilliant. Shall we say? Yeah.
Brilliant. That sounds great. George, let's move over to talk to you. What's been your experience of the course so far, and has it helped you feel like your career aspirations are more tangible, that you can kind of feel closer to maybe getting to where you want to get to?
Yeah, definitely. I was in a similar position as Monica, already sort of in that position where I was looking to step up. from a second assistant to a first assistant sound, or boom operator as commonly known. And yeah, always having the sort of the end goal being a HOD, a sound mixer, working on TV, high-end TV dramas. And yeah, it was, you know, the obvious path is, okay, yeah, you work up the ranks, but you know, there are so many sort of gaps and things in between that to help get you and equip you to that stage. And Leaders of Tomorrow sort of helped me to connect me with other people in the industry, and partner me with my mentor, who sort of, you know, really, you know, pull back the curtains and show me some things that you just wouldn't see until you get into that position. So in many ways, I've learned a lot of all those sort of stumbling lessons that you learn when you first get into that new role, that you've got some experience, but you know, it's you're in the driving seat now, whatever role it may be. And I was able to see some things from pre-production, from going on attending production meetings, doing recce's and stuff like that, that you know, you wouldn't necessarily get to do until you land in that position.
Yeah.
So I've been able to sort of equip myself ahead of that, already being familiar. So I'm not just out of my depth and just struggling to stay afloat. And maybe a little bit of imposter syndrome as well can set place when you first get that gig. So yeah, it's really helped in gaining confidence in that, and just giving me more insight about what a HOD does outside of just doing the job on the day.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I think that what a lot of people tend to talk about, across all, you know, of course within high-end television and the areas that we're talking about, but right across the industry, people talk about how their technical proficiency is the thing, and their skills are the thing that get them the next job, and they can point to it and say, well, I was bloody good at that last thing, and now now I'll get a promotion. But they don't necessarily have the experience or the training or the perspective to understand what else is going to come with that promotion. That seems to me to be a thing that you're talking about there, that it kind of opened your eyes a little bit to the broader requirements.
Yeah, 100%. You know, it wasn't just necessarily being a leader of your team, but you know, sort of representing the entire crew when you're representing your department. So how you're dealing with maybe not necessarily conflicts, but you know, everyone's trying to achieve a certain shot, or you know, get the day, the schedule. So sort of collaborating together and how to deal with those little issues when you're, you know, trying to set up a light stand or something like that and causing shadows, just having those conversations to try and achieve that goal, even at my current level, and just trying to have those conversations early on, so everyone's in a good place.
And Monica said it's been fun so far. George, can you confirm?
Yeah, definitely. It's been fun. It's sort of been a bit unnerving sometimes, like this really happening. And before it, you know, it was more of a dream. It's like, okay, I'm working towards this, but now there's a more proactiveness about, you know, the things that I do each day, and sort of, you know, it's not necessarily on the back burner now, but it's been brought forward in the mind in terms of what I'm trying to achieve, and just taking those steps each day.
Brilliant. That's great to hear. Amanda, I'm going to come to you now. It's been really interesting hearing from those guys. They've been saying a lot of the things that I suspect you're really pleased to hear. Take a step back for us. What makes a good head of department in sort of high-end television? It's not just that they're bloody good at their job and that they've got amazing technical proficiency, right?
No, well, obviously that's what's got them to get that promotion, to kind of get up the ranks. But what's really amazing about the Leaders of Tomorrow program is that they're giving them that fully rounded support, because you might get a step up and you get the title, but that doesn't mean necessarily you've got all the skills in your toolbox to be able to be a manager or, you know, a head of department. So having that, you know, leadership management training, giving them, is developing your soft skills. Yes, you've got the hard skills to be where you've got today, but developing those soft skills is absolutely key, because for me, that's the real kind of like the nub of being a really good leader is that respect, that trust, that communication. They're all super key elements to ensuring really good team, but they have to work both ways. It has to be mutual, and you have to remember you're only as good as your team, so it's essential that you support each other. You've got to have each other's backs. You've got to get the support from the team, but they have to know that they've got your support too. And I think, you know, a really good leader is someone who does kind of model those good behaviors and kind of, you know, leads from the front, doesn't expect anyone to do anything that they wouldn't expect to do themselves. and not having rules for yourself and not for others.
That makes sense. Thank you. There is a distinction, I believe, between management and leadership, but
Yeah.
I don't really know what it is. So tell us, Amanda, make that distinction for us. Explain that to me.
For me, it's quite simple. A leader, it's in the name. A leader has to lead, has to set the path that others will follow. And a manager has to manage that process, feed into that process, and ensure that everyone is, following that same path. So in a nutshell, that's how I would describe it.
And are the skills that make you a good leader is it different skills that make you a good leader that can make you a good manager as well? Do you need to have different skills to excel in both those fields?
You have to have an affinity with all of those skills. I think, I think that's the main thing that sets it apart. As a leader, you have to have more of an oversight and have that clear vision and that pathway. As a manager, you can delegate, but you can still delegate if you're a leader. So I think it just comes back to those soft skills and that whole kind of understanding and respect for each other.
That makes sense. Good. And what about the talent crunch, Amanda, and the pipeline of talent that's out there? Is at the moment it feels like it's a exciting time in some ways because there's opportunities for people to move up in a way that perhaps there might not have been before. Mm-hmm. And what's important, I guess, is that the industry works hard with ScreenSkills and taking responsibility itself to equip people, right, for the challenges that they face as they do progress their careers.
Absolutely. And I think, where there's so much volume and so many shows are being made, it has created great opportunities for people to step up. But what we need to do is ensure that we're allowing people to step up with the support and the scaffolding around them to sort of, give them the support and the skills that they don't have, lean into their strengths that's got them there to where they are today, but then fill in those skills gaps and knowledges and give them the support. So whether that's leaning on more training development, support from heads of department or mentors, but making sure that we're setting people up for success.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hannah, I'm going to come to you as well because you've got good visibility of that. I mean, where are we at the moment in terms of the pipeline of talent coming through, and how can Leaders of Tomorrow kind of play its part in trying to help ease some of those challenges?
Well, we run multiple programs to feed the pipeline from the beginning. So in some ways, Leaders of Tomorrow is the top, but we run other programs like Trainee Find, our new entrance training program, and Make a Move, which is our stepping up program for more mid-level, or can be across the board actually. So we're feeding the pipeline from the bottom, but going back to what Amanda was saying, that underpins all our activity. Is that so diversity obviously is key, and that underpins all our activity, but we constantly respond to industry demand, and it's going every person who's on one of our training programs is offered all that support. So none of our trainees, and we work really hard to ensure that. So to Make a Move, that's a program whereby somebody from the production is being recognised as somebody to step up for the first time. But even then, we ensure that person's got a mentor who's on that job, who's got support around them. If there's any other support beyond the production, like training programs outside of what's on the production that they can support. So all of them, we give that kind of pastoral care, I guess. So yeah. and so it kind of underpins everything. So Leaders of Tomorrow, that's what we're teaching to Leaders of Tomorrow as well, how important that is, and how to be a responsible leader and offer all that support.
And Monica, you mentioned that earlier, that you kind of feel that you're from the program, you're kind of getting knowledge and information imparted down to you in terms of mentorship, mentoring, and learning all these things. And you're also starting to sort of pay that on a little bit.
Yeah, it behooves us to. It absolutely does, because we're all going to have a healthier work environment if we all practice what we want our co-workers to enact. So if someone messages me on LinkedIn or shoots me an email asking for my time, I will give them my time. I'll tell them, prepare it. You will have 30 minutes. I'll give them boundaries to that time, but I will give them that time, because I don't see what the point would be of hoarding knowledge or, you know, holding on to anything. And I just think if you make those changes around you, top down or even bottom up, anywhere where you can put into practice the positive things that you learn, it's only going to have a good effect around you.
Enriches the whole process, isn't it? It's that collaboration, and if we can share our learnings, that's what creates more diversity. That's what makes it more enriching for everybody, that we're sharing each other's experiences, and that's what kind of, you know, helps us grow and develop.
Yeah, and it's kind of like what George was saying about imposter syndrome. You feel that even if you're already in. I was a PM, but I still felt this sort of feeling of, why would I be a mentor? Why would I, you know, impart this wisdom? And I was like, I have to sort of remove the I from that, because then you just, you know, you get wrapped up in that. It's not about that. It's about sharing your knowledge and, you know, trying to benefit the rest of the industry, not really.
There's not a single person I've spoken to that doesn't have a little element of imposter syndrome, but I actually think leaning into those vulnerabilities is actually going to make you a much better person, because it makes you think for a start, and that's what's going to drive you to be sort of better. So I kind of like, I'm all for slight imposter syndrome so long as it's not sort of detrimental, but leaning into vulnerability can actually be a strength rather than a weakness.
Yeah,
definitely. I think that's what's helped about the program as well, where there's 19 of us, and on quite a few occasions we've all come together, or at least, you know, a good majority of us. Some people live quite far away or on jobs, where we've had our training sessions, and in those sort of downtimes we've been able to sort of reflect and share where we are. You know, we've had good half-an-hour chats on what we're struggling with and what we can try, and sort of everyone on the program, especially during year one when it was all new, and trying to explain to, you know, HODs that, you know, we're on this program and we want to, you know, develop, and can you help and stuff like that. And we were sort of trying to find it hard, especially sort of still somewhat of a peak COVID time during year one, and you know, we were all going through something similar, so to also get to know each other and help each other during that time as well was really great.
You're so right. It's building up that community. And I think having the backing of ScreenSkills means that you've got that kind of, I don't know, that body to sort of, you know, you've got each other, obviously, and you've got your own community to chat, but having ScreenSkills to kind of help support that and go, right, okay, what do we need here? And I think, you know, some of the training that I found really useful is learning to deal with different personality types. I mean, again, that's what makes us such a unique industry, and that every story we're telling, and, you know, the fact that we're all such a sort of a diverse bunch makes us all really different, but we should celebrate that, and actually learning to deal with different personality type, different people from different sort of backgrounds. How do you communicate and get through to the other person and be kind of like, you know, understood and understanding, I think is really super important, which is, if you're a freelancer on your own, you're responsible for your own training and development, but who do you go to? How do you know what you don't know? So having that support is, I think it's a treat. It's something to be celebrated.
It's definitely been one of the more special aspects of being part of the cohort, is actually being part of the cohort. And it's what I meant by it's been fun, because getting to know these people. I love George. Like, you know, we had a lovely chat over wine last time we met up, and all these people, they are just individually so special. And then you bring them all together and it's just lovely. It's kind of, I don't even know how to describe it really.
But it's bonding, and you will keep those relationships alive. And as you know, I think for me, every day's a school day, and you learn something, you know, from, I don't know, from every experience, but to sort of, you know, keep those relationships alive is invaluable.
Good. That's really heartening to hear. I wonder also whether the pandemic has changed things in the industry. There was, you know, clearly on both a sort of financial level, in terms of the extent to which freelancers were looked after or not by their employers or the government over the sort of last 2.5 years. But I'm also thinking more about sort of management styles, management techniques, and whether potentially there might be some upside to what was obviously a really terrible, difficult, challenging time. Amanda, do you think the industry has kind of recalibrated the way it needs to think about its workforce?
Yeah, I think even pre-pandemic, we were seeing a lot of burnout. And I think what it has done, it's shown that we can work in different ways. which I think is great. It's proved that as an industry, we can still function. We don't all have to be there all the same time. There are certain roles, granted, that do have to be there, but I think what it's given us more than anything is a greater kind of understanding and respect for each other, and that kind of like that duty of care that we have for one another. I think obviously it's created much higher levels of anxiety than it ever did before. So again, giving that support and making us really focus on self-guarding and well-being and mental health. And, you know, how can we make our workplaces more healthy? And also, you know, if people are kind of burning out, then they're going to leave the industry. And we're seeing that actually we want to retain people in the industry. So how do we make it more attractive for people to even join in the first place, but then stay in it? And balance that work and life, which is always tricky because, you know, it isn't a 9-to-5 job. So, you know, it's building up those skills of, you know, obviously you come into it because you feel a passion for this industry, but you have to have a certain amount of stamina and a certain amount of resilience. And it's how do we kind of support and help people through that.
And George and Monica, you know, you are the next generation of sort of industry leaders, and COVID has been such a monumental, unprecedented event for us all to live and work through. Do you think that will change you and your peers as you go through and has accelerated or altered some of the ways that you think about what it means to manage people, what it means to lead people?
Absolutely. I mean, it starts inward out. I think for me, I had to look at myself and how far I was willing to go. You know, am I going to continue to work remotely? Am I going to be hybrid? And I felt a bit more empowered to actually make those decisions rather than just go with what I think employers would be happy with. And if I'm thinking along those lines, then I have to respect that others are going to be thinking along those lines. And what it gives us is a nice opportunity to call back the people who've left the industry, the parents who've gone, I just can't work these hours. Well, we can work hybrid now. We can actually shift ourselves a bit. So I think there is,
you know,
yeah.
you know, like we talk about, some departments have to be there all the time. Some people can come in early, but then leave and other people can take over. If you can work that within your teams, it's about also all kind of thinking a bit differently and collaborating in a different way. Sorry, I interrupted your flow then.
No, absolutely. I mean, George, you're a father.
Yeah. I think it's definitely, I think COVID helped to share perspective on all our lives, you know, what needs to change and within industry, and I think there's been a big push of diversity since the George Floyd and Black Lives Matter movement. There's been a great push, and I was saying to the trainee that's on our team on my current job that it was actually really surprising to see so many organizations and production companies actually come together and make that change, because it's happened quite quickly, and there's been quite a positive effect of new entrants coming into the industry from a diverse background that just has never happened before. And luckily it has come at sort of at the right time, with all of productions sort of setting up studios here, and you know, there's a lot of work currently and moving forwards. And I think the biggest thing for me that COVID has shed a light on is again that working environment and how that's going to balance with kids. Luckily my wife isn't in the industry, and God knows how we would manage if she was, but sort of the negotiations that are currently ongoing with like Pact and Beck 2, and you know, the whole work to live, not live to work, you know, those sort of things, I feel more confident in also sharing my voice with my fellow peers and saying, you know, we need to come together. You know, it's not about fighting and trying to push our own agenda, but again, working together to create a solution. That's kind of everyone in this industry sort of has that knack. If you're in it, it's because you like to solve problems, whether it be within your own department or the bigger picture. So, you know, hopefully we can all work together and find a solution that, yeah, we can have parents returning back from work, people that have maybe retired, returning back to work, and yeah, create a solution that's beneficial for everyone.
Hannah, that must be music to your ears a little bit. These are some of the things that ScreenSkills focusing on. And of course, remote working, we're talking about, you've got geographical spread, haven't you, for the leaders of tomorrow? And actually, there are more opportunities now, right? You don't have to be, based in London or even Manchester or where, Glasgow, wherever it might be. There are opportunities now around the country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, business is booming everywhere. Every nation, every region we talk to, there seems to be more and more productions coming up. Yeah, which is fantastic. But and also going back to the COVID thing, training. When COVID hit, ScreenSkills immediately reacted and had the COVID training, and the amount of online training we've got now. A few years ago, you wouldn't think that would be credible. That you could have a whole Leaders of Tomorrow program, and you could be a lot of it online, but that we pivoted, and that allows people from across the UK to access all our training. And with Leaders of Tomorrow, we've got about 50% are outside in the nations and regions, and each experience should be the same. It should make a difference, and it means that the people who are based in Scotland can work in Scotland. They can do their placements in Scotland. They don't have to travel. The people are based in Northern Ireland or Wales. So it's great.
Very good. And so, Monica and George, forgive me, what stage are you at now of your 3-year program, and what's sort of next on the agenda? George, why don't you go first, and then I'll move over to you, Monica.
Yeah, sure. So for me, when I started year 1, I was currently working as a second assistant sound, just on the cusp of looking to step up. And that really helped me sort of have those conversations with my peers and also my mentor that I was partnered with during year 1. And so as of January this year, 2022, I stepped up as a first assistant, and that's been sort of every job that I've done this year has been as a first assistant. And I'll probably continue that into 3rd year, maybe with the look at doing some sort of second unit stuff on my current job, depending on what that might be. But yeah, just basically continuing on that path and starting to have those conversations and checking with my mentor to see what might be a good decision to try and branch out and put myself forward for.
George, you've mentioned your mentor several times. Should we give them a shout out?
Yeah, definitely. David Lascelles is been fantastic, been absolutely wonderful. I did a placement with him for 4 weeks on Ted Lasso, and I really gained some insightful knowledge and some things that I just would have never have known until I got to his level as a HOD. So yeah, he's been absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. Thank you for that.
And just to add that one of the reasons why this program is so good is because we have people like David Lascelles on the program. It is all about having HODs who support the program and who support these guys stepping up. Without them, it wouldn't be as it is. So there's a shout out to the general.
No, that's good. Of course, it absolutely makes sense. And Monica, where are you at in the program? What's next? What's coming up down the line for you in terms of moving towards its conclusion?
It's all, there's a lot happening, both in the industry and in my sort of personal realm. I've been doing a lot of consulting at the moment. I sort of associate produce a few bits and bobs. The thing is, because I'm now quite involved in virtual production, I feel like I owe it to keep a leg in there. The next show that I'm in talks with is more straight VFX, but I'm hoping to just allocate time while I'm there to also be still having the consultations and still training up others or suggesting that they get introduced to virtual production, because it's a whole new set of technologies that's come together that we really do need to address the skills gap in that area as well as all the other areas.
Look, I think that's amazing. You're developing your own career, and you're thinking bigger picture as well, right? About the wider space, and how actually there's an area here that's come through in the last couple of years, and the sector needs to embrace it, right?
It's really exciting. It's like, when VFX was brand new, what would it have been like to be there on the ground and to be in those conversations? And it's something that I never would have thought about. I didn't know what VP was a year ago. Actually, no, I knew what it was a year ago, but early last year, I didn't know what it was. I had to very quickly get my head around it and suddenly become an expert. And it's very exciting. It's a whole new tool set. I think it's going to sort of in the years to come really spread and take over, and as it gets honed and perfected, it's going to be an incredibly powerful tool. So I think that everybody should learn about it.
Great. Well, it's lovely to hear you talk so passionately about that. Hannah, the next iteration of Leaders of Tomorrow, how and when does it launch? What do people need to know? Who should be thinking about applying?
So we're open for applications at the moment, and we close on the 7th of August. The most important thing is that you need to be nominated to apply. So if you are mid-level and you want to become an HOD at some point in the future, so there's no prerequisite, you don't have to become an HOD in 3 years, it could be beyond that. It's all about giving 3 years of support whilst you're on the programme. Then you need to find a nominator, somebody who will nominate you. And so also, if anyone is an HOD or a senior leader and has spotted talent, has seen somebody who for some reason or other is hitting that glass ceiling, but you think that they've got what it takes to become the next fantastic HETV HOD leader, then please do nominate. So yes, we close for applications on the 7th of August.
Very good. And this is across almost every discipline, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It is all laid out on our website of which departments they are, but it's pretty much most departments. If they're not, it's because we support them in some other way through ScreenSkills.
Very good. And Amanda, you know, from your perspective, listening to these guys speak, knowing what you do about the course, what's your overall takeaway here from, you know, why is this program important, and what's your sense of how impactful it might be?
It's all about the title. It's building up the future leaders of tomorrow, and, you know, keep doing what we're doing well and keep trying to do it better, and supporting that sort of training and development every step of the process. And, you know, I speak from Sky, we have processes and procedures coming out of our ears. So, you know, we're very kind of like, you know, sort of pushing all of that. But yeah, I think, you know, the respect in the workplace is absolutely key. That leadership and management training, absolutely essential to build and develop those soft skills to make us all kind of, you know, better and more harmonious. You know, we're pushing sustainability, so we're all going into kind of like, you know, planet testing and using our power of voice and influence to, you know, tell those stories through our programming and our scripts. You know, D&I is super important as well. You know, building the richness of our industry, which we do very well, but I think there's certain balances that need to be addressed. So we definitely have room for improvement there. How do we, you know, address those balances? You know, and also make our environments more accessible. You know, that's the next biggest drive. That's a big kind of gap there. So.
Definitely. I'm going to give the final word to Monica and George, because they're the guys at the sharp end of this. They're the guys that are experiencing it. George, why don't you go first? What would you say to someone who's thinking about this, suffering from a bit of imposter syndrome, you know, umming and ahhing a bit? They're being egged on by their pals, their supporters. They've got a potential nominator. What would your message be to them?
I'd say 100% go for it. You know, just jump in the deep end, because the great thing about Leaders Tomorrow program is that you have support. There is, you know, there's someone right there on the side ready to throw that ring in if you need it. You know, so, you know, you're not jumping in blinds. You're not, you know, going in at it alone. You know, so you're able to test your limits while there is a safety net there. And that's the sort of great thing. And, you know, you get to assess, reassess, and then go back out with the knowledge of what didn't work last time and be able to make those changes. So, you know, it's a great opportunity to test your limits, push yourself, learn, and go out there and do it again. Because that's what, you know, everyone in the industry at some point, they'll continue to do that anyway. So to do that with the mindset of progressing their career and having that support, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, really good. And Monica, from your perspective?
Absolutely. Pretty much echoing the same stuff George is saying. There's absolutely nothing to be lost by not applying. So just do it, just apply it, because there's only gains to be had. If you even for a minute have had to work a bit harder or do something a little bit outside of your role, you know, apply for it, because even if you've not been asked to do that, clearly you've got the characteristics of someone who's going above and beyond. So go for it. And please don't succumb to imposter syndrome. It's an application. Go for it.
Very good. Well, listen, guys, thank you for talking us through all of that today. Hannah, there's loads of information available about the program and about the wider ScreenSkills support services online.
Yep, they're all on our website, yes. And also just to add very quickly, there are only 20 places for this program, but we do run lots of other leadership and management training that's open for freelancers. So there is leadership and management training and anti-bullying and harassment training and mental health awareness training. And so there's lots of stuff there available. Yeah, all on our website.
Fantastic. Well, look, if you're watching this and you think that that could be you, then check it out via ScreenSkills and put your hand up, and hopefully you'll have some of the very positive experiences that Monica and George have enjoyed. Thank you to the panel. Thanks for your time today. We really appreciate it, and keep up all the good work. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.